Welcome back to the show, everybody, and what I'm about to show you is in fact a relic because it no longer exists, and it no longer exists because, well, fans said, no, we will not accept you doing this, and the company had to respond. Yes, this is some content, some DLC that Destiny tried to do, and you will notice the popular user-defined tags of capitalism, crime, psychological horror. Yes, suffice to say, the Destiny 2 starter pack did not go down particularly well. And if you're not a Destiny player, you won't realize just how little value there was for this, to the point where loads of people who play Destiny flat out said, this is a scam. This is not worth this in any way, shape, or form. So let's dig into what the hell is going on here, why Bungie felt the need to actually release this bit of content, why they've then felt the need to delete it, and what ultimately is the ongoing trolley problem for Destiny players of supporting a game that, well, can ask so much money for ultimately so little. And right after we ask for your support by digging into today's sponsor. Our members at Bellular.ghost.io, there, they've been getting early access to our content, and they've also been getting Loading Screen, which is the newsletter that we publish every single weekday, where basically you will know everything that's going on about the news. Also, we're all hanging out over on our over in the Members Lounge Discord server, which is all very fun, and it is the best way to support the work that we do here. So, you can join up there if you want to support the mission. With that said, there's no other way to start than with the final shape being delayed, because that is what has happened, and we learned about this from Jason Schreier ages ago, but officially from game director Joe Blackburn today in this YouTube video that honestly kind of almost looks like a YouTuber, like, you know, those YouTuber apology videos, or, you know, we have an update for you, and it's always a bit mysterious. It's kind of what the thumbnail of that reminded me of, but anyway, look, he basically said, we need to delay this, it will be coming out June 4th. We knew this based on Bloomberg's reporting, but of course the big question is what actually happens. It's not much, but they will do what they can. Here's what it actually means. In February, this will include new weekly progression-based quests called Wishes, and the launch of the Moments of Triumph with unique rewards, then Guardian Games being moved up to March with a refreshed focus on Class v Class competition, and they say that that is in addition to what the PvP team is doing. Now, they basically had to form this PvP strike team because essentially they underserved their PvP players for so long that it became a fairly major drama, and now they're getting 3 maps. So that takes us up to May. What about the final 2 months? Because Bungie is live service. That's why PlayStation bought them. The final shape is supposed to kind of kick off this whole new cadence of content delivery, so what are they going to do? And the answer there is basically a free season. 2 months of content that will effectively act as a prelude to the final shape. They have not been specific on what this content is, and that means the question is going to be, will this be new content rushed out the door because of a sudden pivot developed since the announcement of the delay, or will this be repurposed content, basically meaning that they can really buy some time and then have their main team polish off the expansion? Because ultimately, what the worst thing here would be is the team having to crunch to do this content, and then to crunch to get the expansion to come out all in a live service game that basically is utterly relentless, where your team can never stop shipping. Of course, in addition to that, we got all the broad angst of the Destiny players. They have not had a great time. The most recent expansion was a pretty big, honestly, it was a disaster. It essentially felt like a big old slice of filler content that absolutely managed to miss. So there's all of this angst. There's also the fact that the game is really darn expensive and knows how to charge you plenty of money for not that much, including the new starter pack that went down so badly they had to unlaunch it. So 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Season of the Wish itself seems to be fine. Not brilliant, not terrible, but potentially more of the same in a way that won't be, super exciting to players. As an example, this race to the top of the subreddit, and, well, I wasn't expecting much from the start of a season, but I wasn't expecting to run 1 new mission in an old location, then 1 new activity, only to end the weekly quest running a 5-year-old activity, and then rerunning the seasonal activity that's labeled as a mission. Not trying to be overly negative, I like the previous 2 seasons, but this season start feels cheap already. Of course, if things are feeling cheap and you are trying to charge as much as Bungie likes to charge, that's not a particularly great situation to be in. Then again, the Destiny 2 community, they've kind of got used to having the start of a season be kind of underwhelming because basically Bungie is 100% drip feed all the time rather than the season having a massive swell at the start and then kind of petering off over time. They're kind of just getting back to baseline with the launch of this season, hitting up, about 100,000 players. And if you look at that historically, that is baseline. It's overall for a season launch, not particularly great, because on this screenshot, I've got marked here Beyond Light, Witch Queen, and Lightfall as A, B, and C, those expansion launches. And you can see, right, Beyond Light broadly retains players. Witch Queen retains players. And look at Lightfall. That just goes down. Of course, Bungie themselves said that revenue was 45% lower than expectations. And I think we can even see it in the player charts. So really, it's amid all of this bad news that this starter pack even happened, and I think this headline from Dado sums it up pretty well. My first impressions of Season of the Wish are okay, but I'm mad about something, and yeah, turned out this was his time to hit the red button and tell us how he feels. So, we've got the $15 starter set. Now, as framed by Paul Tassi over at Forbes, who I think did a good job of framing the value here, it's not just a bad deal, but it's actually a deal that is insulting. Would you imagine that a starter pack contains some of the expansion content that's now 3 to 4 years old at this point that serves as a foundation of the current storyline? Guess again. Rather, this is a bundle that contains 3 exotic weapons, 3 cosmetics, and some materials. 125,000 glimmer, 50 enchantment cores, 5 enchantment prisms, and 1 ascendant shard. But the thing is, to most of us, that's absolute gobbledygook. I mean, there's some exotic weapons. Are they even... they're exotic. Surely these are great. Well, Paul is a big Destiny 2 player, and that means he's able to say that these are being sold to new players as some sort of, hey, get started in the game, free-to-play game. It maybe has a bundle with a bunch of boosts and accelerators that somebody may actually think like, oh wow, this will really get me started. Just that it turns out these are 3 wildly off-meta exotics, 3 cosmetics that do nothing, and materials you could earn in an hour or 2 of gameplay at most. Yeah. So this is absolutely goddamn egregious. Also that, with that amount of money, you could, buy things that have actual gameplay and also contain the story. You can get stuff that contains the story of Destiny 2 for less than the cost of the starter pack. Witch Queen, people really liked it. Costs £8. Just over half the price of the starter pack. Similar for Beyond Light, Shadowkeep for $4.99, but from my experience of playing the Shadowkeep campaign, it is not worth $4.99. It is just that boring. Now, of course, what's funny then is that even the silver bundle that is there will actually cover the cost for Season of the Wish content, and that's actually cheaper than this starter pack. This starter pack that is such a bad value that effectively to many people are just calling it a scam, a way to sort of hoodwink new players. Char quipped by saying that these would be login rewards in any other MMO, which honestly is just kind of hilarious. And then, the thing that you may have seen already that perhaps I've decided to put in today's thumbnail. The end screen of Dado's video, which honestly is pretty damn epic. Hope you stoked yet another wave of hate articles, hate videos. This is certainly not a positive video because I don't think this was a good move. But yes, hello, Dado. You've probably accomplished your mission, I think. And bad publicity yet again. You never will learn. I give up. I hope it was worth a few grand. And that basically is the problem here. And Dado, if you don't know, and maybe you've somehow watched this, you are chained to Bungie. I'm changed to World of Warcraft. It's just the way that it is, it's kind of hard to get out of it. But I will say, at least with World of Warcraft, they've kind of listened. The new raid is one of the best. It's fantastic. We're getting a lot of content, and yes, they were doing a few monetization things that I don't particularly like, but none of it is impacting gameplay. Yeah, whoa, yikes. You guys don't have it good. And the weird thing about Bungie is, they should be really good at communication. They actually do communicate a lot, but ultimately here, it kind of just is Bungie being Bungie. Look, Bungie management built a product that would probably generate some money, but it's not a unique cosmetic, it's not a flashy thing that a whale will buy, and it's not even something that's going to fix revenue problems that have been widely reported with the game, because it's literally a bad deal and the current players won't even go near it. Instead, this is something that is basically just I mean, honestly, it's kind of trying to rob their new players. It's basically running a scam predicated on newer players not being able to judge the value of the bundle, which is insane. And thankfully, all of the shaming actually worked. And that is why you see whenever people say, oh my god, you haters, if you don't like it, just don't buy it. No, if you think that it's bad for the game, if you think that this is the sort of thing that should not happen as time, as time goes on, you want this kind of thing to stop, bloody well say it. Make the videos, talk in the forums, talk on Twitter. Don't be a massive dickhead about it to developers, obviously. Blame the people who actually make these decisions. Be precise, but absolutely make your voice heard, because we now have an increasing pile of examples where our voices have actually been heard, where we have actually ensured that the bad thing hasn't happened. But of course, this is Bungie, and even in taking the L, they have managed to not take the L well, which is bloody hilarious. Of course, what is marketing about? What's PR about? In a time like this, it's about saving face with the company line. But, I mean, man, this is quite rough. Hey everyone, we launched the Season of the Witch yesterday, and we've been monitoring the conversation around what you've been enjoying and haven't. We'll start things off with the starter pack, which is something not bringing joy, which is why we pulled it from stores. We've heard with your concerns and agree there are other parts of Destiny 2 that people should want to dive into first before chasing these exotic weapons, cosmetics, and upgrade materials. So, are they going to say, sorry everyone, I know, we were basically finding people who are, new in the country, fresh off the boat, and we were just trying to rob them blind. Yeah, I suppose, yeah, you couldn't have said that on Twitter, but, maybe acknowledging that it was a bad value proposition or a miscalibrated bundle or something like that would actually show that degree of understanding. Now, there are some things that team have been doing that have been great to see. They have actually responded to plenty of actual, specific concerns, which is quite nice. And they're good answers. They're not, they're not kind of like weird answers. No, it's actually great to see. It's good community engagement. It's just that obviously on this topic, there's no way that they will have the green light to say anything that is, at all what will actually make people happy. And this brings us ultimately to the trolley problem. The trolley problem. So there's an internal tension coming out in the Destiny player base because they're really frustrated with the money-making decisions of Bungie management and how utterly transparently bad it all is. But equally, they're also acknowledging that the people who are making this game also just watch 10% of their colleagues, get fired. So now the people who remain are having to do the same or more, but with less. But despite all of that, players are still finding that the things that make up Destiny's gameplay prior to an expansion are not enough to justify spending all of your time on, especially while they're waiting for the actual content of the final shape. And as put forward by Kaylee here, it is like the trolley problem. Right now, playing a game like Destiny 2 feels like getting caught in a trap. On one hand, we have to play or more devs may lose their jobs. On the other hand, the more we play, the more we burn out. What to do? And ultimately, there is no good answer there, because the cold hard fact is, they need more goddamn money. Either that, or they need to lower their costs. And unlike with Twitter, I'm pretty sure you can't axe 75% of the Destiny 2 team and still have broadly a similar experience exist online. No, any more cuts will probably be like, a case where it's like you've already cut to the bone. You cannot take more people away from this project. So it is a really challenging thing. The only way, right, essentially, is this crazy thing called investment. Because investment is you burning through a bunch of money now to hopefully make some more money in the future. So in a way, with this live service, they need to accept their loss and invest in their future. Stop desperately trying to hoodwink people with stuff like this stupid starter bundle and actually focus on a future game that will bring more of those players back and turn them into better converting customers via giving them deals that are, giving them a value proposition that they will, stick with and pay for as time goes on, which ultimately seems to be the bit that they have really floundered at, as evidenced by the 45% drop in revenue versus their internal expectations. And it's actually pretty well captured by one of their senior narrative designers who quote tweeted the delay saying, I've worked in this thing more than I've ever worked in anything, and that is, let me tell you, a lot. There's not a single person doing the day-to-day work on this project who isn't busting their entire ass. June feels at once impossibly far away and so soon. And ultimately, as it relates to your release date, that is totally how game development actually feels. That is the trouble. Developers and players, and then the people who are involved in the money. It's almost like there's that triangle between happy devs, happy players, and a happy publisher. Sometimes it's a case of you can only pick two. That kind of sucks. What we do know, though, is the $15 starter pack was absolutely not it. My own takeaway here is that Bungie management should be absolutely ashamed of themselves for doing this. In doing this, they have essentially undermined their developers. Anybody at Bungie, and you'd imagine that people at Bungie actually understand the value of things in their game, and therefore would understand how bad of a deal that this was. So it's just in what world did they think that that was a good idea? In what world did they need that amount of money? If you're going to do a Destiny starter pack that basically exists to onboard new players with a good experience, come on, there are better ways that you could do it. And this actually plays into something that Dado and many other Destiny content creators talk about, and it's one that I can really empathize with as a Warcraft guy. The new player experience of Destiny 2 is horrendous. It is so goddamn confusing. This does not help that. And if you want to actually invest in Destiny 2's future, maybe a new player experience that isn't awful would be a good start. World of Warcraft doesn't have the best new player experience, but it is a damn lot better than it was 5 or 10 years ago. They've changed how the scaling works, they've redone all the zones, so you just have way more freedom in how you play. I still have criticisms of it, yes, but they did do a way better job than they have in the past. And I think it's just sad to see Destiny be like this, It's one of those things where I imagine some Destiny players, they just wish oh man, give me a subscription and maybe we could call it a day. But of course, no. The subscription fee is never enough. For Blizzard, they do it via some cosmetics, but at least we get the vast majority of our cosmetics, available in-game by actually playing. Man, even in Destiny 2, the way that they handle, the monetization of cosmetics, it's just kind of horrible. It's that thing where they try to get away with so much by saying that they're a free-to-play game, but my god, it is a free to ramble about in for a bit and get lost and confused in-game, because absolutely, it's a seasonal content game where you've got to buy the seasons. Destiny need to work out what the bloody plan is for this game, and oh man, for the final shape, that motherfucker's going to need to be a relaunch, at least if they want to do more than just activate the existing Destiny people. Because, look, you can even find the video in my old, or I think I actually published it in the Warcraft channel, which is a crazy thing to do. I love D2 on launch, and then immediately, in 2 weeks, got bored because there wasn't that much to do. And every time that I hop back into it, I had a lot of fun because so many aspects of that game are terrific. But from the outside perspective, Bungie, all that we have seen from your game is big mistakes made by management and a totally miscalibrated expansion. You're not going to be able to grow your game if the story around it is this much of a continuous shit show. And again, as a WoW guy, let me tell you, it takes a long ass time to win your reputation back. Oh, they better tread carefully. That's it for today's video. Let me know what your thoughts are. Of course, thank you to all of our members of Bellular.ghost.io for #1, helping us to actually keep the lights on and power this show, where of course they are getting plenty of exclusive content like Loading Screen, which we publish every single weekday, and then also early access videos and a bunch of other things as well. So thanks guys, I will see you back in the channel probably tomorrow.